It's trying.
Yep.
It's trying.
You're live.
It's trying. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Blacksburg Wine Lab's virtual happy hour. And we have some guests with us today, too. Before I actually get to our guests, and everybody can introduce themselves, as always, so we don't make the same mistake twice, can we get a typed confirmation that you can actually see us and hear us, and that this live stream is going forward live? Anyone?
This one time I went like 20 minutes. Me and
Yeah,
Jason were
we just
talking.
started talking.
And he was like, "Are you guys gonna start?" And I was like, "Oh no."
Oh, we should probably push the right damn
We
button.
were having a great time, too.
Yep.
I know, it's
And then
We tried to bring the magic back.
there
and
was
it
like 15 people that were in the room, and then they just all clicked off, and we're like, oh, why'd we lose all the viewers? Oh, because it didn't work.
Yeah.
we don't know what we're doing.
And people were emailing us going, what? I'm not sure our live stream is not working. And we're like, well, we were.
Oops. I'm like, "Oh, we just chatted for like 20 minutes."
Okay, so we have any confirmation yet
Yes.
from all one person? That's all. Do we have a fan on?
Yes.
Okay.
Elaine Cook, Anne Marie, Cindy Cook,
Anne Marie.
Alyssa Ramada,
Welcome, Alyssa.
Brian Hagen. Shout out Jesse.
Welcome, Brian.
So you got some fans already. Yeah.
Well, then we'll just go ahead and get to it and go around to introduce everybody. I'm John Boyer, one of the co-owners, co-creators, and co-idiots of Blacksburg Wine Lab, and the rest of you all can introduce yourselves.
I'm Katie, also a co-owner with John, Blacksburg Wine Lab.
Not a co-idiot, though.
No, I mean, depends on the day.
Right.
I'm Cassandra. I'm serving the wine tonight. And I'm also a server here and bartender.
I'm Jessie Richards, and I'm with the YP, the Young Professional Group of Blacksburg, and we are doing a Crash the Wine Lab happy hour tonight. So I'm joining on behalf of
Crash the
Wine
wine. Beautiful.
Yes, cheers to all, and welcome.
And I'm
Oh, he's the one that deferred, so
I'm Jason. I'll be your co-idiot.
there you go.
There you go.
There you go. I always forget what's your screen name.
Booze monkey.
Booze Monkey.
Screen name. This is like AOL days.
Exactly.
That was amazing. What's your screen name?
What's your aim?
I'm sorry, what the hell do you call it now?
I don't-
Handle.
Your handle. Oh yeah, that's way cooler because that's what you used to call people who used CBs back in the 60s and 70s, right?
He's got a good big old
Yeah.
convoy.
What's your handle?
Yep.
Snowman.
Rubber duck.
Your rubber ducky. This is the Bandit coming in here on Channel 3.
I actually listened to Convoy the other day.
Convoy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm-
C.W. McCall.
Is that the name of the character?
That's the name of the guy that sang it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is Austrian.
How many people in the chat room know Convoy? That will be none of you.
No,
That's okay.
Everybody knows.
No, if there's anybody in this chat room from the young professionals, no, we're
That's
too
true.
old.
That's true.
That movie's wicked old.
That's true. That was
Now,
like
some of
78,
them
like
may
that.
have heard of Smokey and the Bandit. A lot more younger people would have heard of that just because it's a funny name. But probably more people have heard of the movie Smokey and the Bandit than have actually seen it at this point. Seriously, think about it.
I'd
It's like a
imagine so.
cultural reference that you just know it, but you never saw it.
Right.
I mean,
But
obviously, I did.
Great movie.
Burt Reynolds.
The first one was good. The sequels, not so much.
Yeah, there actually were 3 Smokey and the Bandits.
Yeah.
They got progressively, exponentially worse.
As most sequels do, I think. I mean,
No, but not that bad.
No.
I mean, The Empire Strikes Back was as good or better than Star Wars.
that's actually my favorite of all the Star Wars.
Of course it is.
It's the
Because
best
you're,
Star Wars.
'cause you're cool.
Yeah, right?
I would ask you all your favorites, but you're too young. You'd be like, what? Nobody watched those. You mean the Jar Jar Binks one? No, that one doesn't count at all.
No. that whole 3-part series there doesn't count. We just forget those exist.
But there were 3 Smokey and the Bandits, and the top one was a cultural icon of the
Absolutely.
70s. And then the second one was somewhere in the toilet bowl swirling around in a lower level of hell.
Yes. Yes.
And then the third one somehow went lower than that. It's that bad. Almost unwatchable.
Yeah, don't. Actually, it is unwatchable.
It's
Don't
totally
even bother.
unwatchable.
Don't,
You should
don't even do it.
Definitely go do it if you really
I
want
know
to
what I'm
get
doing later.
Yeah. If you want to hate yourself for 88 minutes, you
Smokey.
go right ahead.
Smokey and the Bandit Part 3. No.
Yeesh.
No young professionals. No. Just scratch that off of your COVID list of things to do.
That was a mighty odd tangent we just went on.
That's what we do.
That's true. That's true.
Well, before this hour is out, though, I always like to pose questions, but I'll let you think about it. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I have now named what I believe is a culturally significant film only because in pop culture everybody knows it, although most people haven't seen it. Your task by the end of the hour is to come up with a movie, a movie that you're like, I know what this movie is, but I've never seen it, and no one your age would have ever seen it. Just think about it. Just think about it. Mull it over as we mull over some wines. But we should really first, on that note, welcome the young professionals.
Yes.
Because you guys have partied with us, what, once or twice?
Twice.
Yeah.
Twice. And they're always great parties, so we miss the unprofessional
You guys can
crew.
Take over the whole back and like.
Yeah,
use
we
it.
love it.
Yeah.
Take over the whole place anytime. Let's do it now.
So
Can't we do a private party now?
let's do that. So those that are out there that might not know what the Young Professionals is, what do you guys do? What's
There you
the
go.
gist?
There you go.
So we are an organization that is a social organization for young professionals in the Blacksburg and Montgomery County area. Anyone who is looking to get involved, make new friends, make networking, professional connections. We kind of cover it all. We do social, professional, community service, anything that if you're new to the area or you've lived here for 10 years and you just want to kind of regain some roots and meet some new people. Blacksburg is a weird place where people are constantly coming and going, and for this age group, it's, you never know who's around and who you're going to meet, and if you have, one minute you can have a lot of friends, and the next minute they've all taken jobs in DC. So you never know. So it's just kind of an organization for everyone to get involved and meet some new people.
Cool.
Is the word young? Is that like?
Yeah, how young? How old is the young? Or how? Yeah.
Do you check IDs or?
We do not. We do not.
How
Young at
old is
heart,
the oldest
no.
young professional?
That works. We don't have any hard limits, I mean, I think anyone is welcome. So
I think my membership was declined, but I need to look at that. That's probably my problem.
You're new to the area. I see it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I would assume that the group has been growing.
yes, I think actually our first one here, like 2 years ago, was
Well, we've only been open a year and a half, so.
okay. So then it was close to when you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was first.
That was one of our first where we were like, whoa, there are a lot of people here. This is a big group. And so that was kind of the start of the snowball, where it's just been, we've done a lot to formalize things. In the beginning, it was kind of just there was like a group of core members that kind of kept things going and planned events. And so since then, we formalized and created an actual board. And since doing that, I think it's shared the workload more evenly, which has been good for everyone. But also just helped things to be a little bit more official, which makes us look more inviting to the public as well.
You're
So
legit. You're
we
all
are. We're
legitimate
legit.
now.
Yes.
So Elaine said the new JCs, which as a reference I don't get.
Oh, you're talking about movies.
No,
No.
yeah. No, I think she's saying the
No,
group.
the JCs was is kind of a social organization,
Oh.
a service organization, similar to like the Kiwanis Club.
Oh.
Okay.
So
Actually, that's well played. She was talking about this group, but
Yeah.
also it's a cultural reference
Yeah.
from the 70s. I thought
Yeah.
you were talking about a movie, and JC's
Yeah.
is kind of an old
It's
school
Junior
one.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
And James said, I'm too
Okay.
old for the YPs, but I know because I get the JC's reference.
JC's. There's a cultural reference from the past. There you go, the
Yeah.
JC's.
And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Okay, there you go. Good mix in there.
nice.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah.
So what are the types of things you guys get together for? Typically around a glass of wine or
Drinking.
Yeah, so we do, well, when we're not in quarantine, we generally do a monthly mixer at different local businesses. One of our favorites is obviously here. We stretch all the way, we'll do Christian. We've started doing more in Christiansburg, just trying to kind of share the love. So we'll do a monthly social mixer. We've started doing drink tickets. We get sponsors, so we're trying to add a little bit more, again, with that being legit. And then we also do community service events. We were working on doing the Habitat for Humanity project, and then COVID. We also do professional development. We try to do those events once every quarter, but that's a lot easier to do right now. So we're doing some of those. We just did a really great LinkedIn. Shout out to Alyssa who's watching. She did a great webinar on how to make the most out of your LinkedIn. So just different things like that. But we're always looking for ideas. So if anybody has any thoughts or wants to give us some ideas on what you would like to see, we're here to serve you and the community. We're also currently looking for board members. So if you know any young professionals who you think would be a great influence in the town or help us retain and create a more welcoming environment for young professionals to work here and to live here, we're definitely looking for some new board members to kick off our next year. So
there's no cost. You're just kind of like a group.
Correct. Yeah, we have no membership fees, nothing like that. If you want to sponsor one of our events, if you're a local business, we will take your money then. That all goes through the Blacksburg partnership. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, I only mentioned that I assume that Young Professionals group has been growing in Blacksburg because Young Professionals as a group of humans has been growing in Blacksburg. And I've been here a while. Obviously, I'm sure there's somebody online that outdates me for Blacksburg, but I've been here, I don't know, 25 to 30 years. And the young professional class was virtually non-existent. Yes, you had grad students 30 years ago, but that was its own subculture group. There were grad students, and everybody always endlessly complained then of like, I'm not going to date an undergrad, and I'm not going to hang out with the teenagers, and there's not that many people my age here, even though I'm a little bit older. But man, how much has Blacksburg changed in 30 years? It was before the Corporate Research Center. It was before all these businesses started to roll in here who were employing young professionals. So I would gander a guess that the age bracket of the folks that the age bracket and professionalism that your group, is tailored to has probably grown 100-fold in the last 30 years. I mean, it just didn't exist.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember talking to lots of tech professors, fellow cohorts of mine, who would say that would start their jobs here as young professionals in their mid to late 20s when you start becoming a professor. And if any of them were single, they're like, oh my God, this is a desert for hanging out with anybody here. I myself was already married, so I'm like, oh, does it? Well, sucks to be you. I don't know. So I just have seen the growth in Blacksburg, and the growth in your group is like, to me, is reflective of what's been happening in Blacksburg as a whole. And so to me, it's, despite all the COVID crap, I mean, I still see that trajectory going up for Blacksburg with almost no upper end to it in the near future.
Absolutely.
It's a great place to be.
It is.
Absolutely.
It absolutely is. That's why I came back.
How about some wine?
That's right. We're drinking wine. Let's drink some.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to be talking about
I haven't even
our
tried this
first
one yet.
wine.
I haven't even tried the first wine yet.
So this is our mystery wine. Once again,
No
Jeanette-
rush. Oh, you have this one? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been over here chugging on it.
Oh.
Could have used a little more chill, but that's all right. Jeanette picked another mystery wine for us. Kind of the theme of this happy hour is we're drinking two other wines from Austria.
So do I assume this one is Austrian as well?
She said it may or may not be.
Okay.
Once you taste it, it very well could be, but knowing our inventory, kind of...
Nope, it's Austrian. I know what it is.
You got it? But...
I'm being very cavalier, but I'd throw down $100 on the grape right now. And I could lose that $100, but it's pretty distinct to me. But let's talk about it.
Absolutely. So, I guess first and foremost, do you like it?
Yeah.
She said after a pause.
I mean, I agree it could be a little bit colder. It wouldn't necessarily be my first pick off the shelf, but it's definitely enjoyable, drinkable.
Any descriptors? Anybody got any descriptors?
It's got some really good weight to it, I feel. It's got a good mouthfeel to it, good body.
Start with the aroma.
I get like a hint. I get like minerality and like a light hint of diesel, which I just a hint of it, which is what I get a lot with these Austrian, German wines.
We don't know that's what it is.
I don't.
But I think it is.
But
But I
that's
think it is.
I get like that. Yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
Like rocks. Like,
Anybody get any citrus? Little citrus?
Yeah.
Little lemon?
Yeah.
Maybe a little lime?
Little peel. Yep.
Little peel?
I smell a little rose.
Some
Oh.
floral
Yeah.
component?
Someone else called out little Kimberly's a little grassy.
That's...
Yeah.
I was heading towards herbaceous after we cleared through the fruits.
Yep.
Little herbaceous. Little white pepper.
Oh.
So I don't know the label. Does anybody want to guess before I say something? Which I'm fairly confident in. I was wrong on the mystery wine, the number one mystery wine last week. All of you are right, and I got it wrong. So I could be setting myself up for disaster again, and I love it.
I feel like it's just, and I can't put my finger on the grape. It's kind of a Chenin Blanc Riesling Gewürztraminer mashup, and I can't put my finger on what it is at all.
I feel like it's not your typical white grape that you would normally
Agreed.
see.
No, it's
Something
probably not
different.
the top three grape.
Yeah.
What have you guys been saying?
Oh, we're talking about this
We're
one.
talking about your wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to like say hi to the camera. You have to speak
You
into
can't
the
just be
camera.
that disembodied voice.
There she is.
I'm blocking
Jeanette.
Yeah.
Does anybody in the chat room have a guess? It's impossible to guess the label. Who the hell knows what winery it's from? But I think some of you will likely guess the grape, especially if Jeanette has stayed on theme, because I believe this is a Gruner Veltliner. It just, and for those of you who haven't done any Gruner, it's Austrian's biggest grape. It's their number one grape. It's like what Chardonnay is to California, Gruner Veltliner is to Austria. And again, I could be wildly off base here, but Gruners have this very Sauvignon Blanc-esque flavor to it, and it's got really good acidity. The acidity, if it was colder, the acidity would be even more pronounced. But did anybody get that little tingle, little kick on the acid on the back end of it? And especially given the weight of it and the color of it, it's like, yeah, this is...
So my issue with saying it's a Gruner is that
I'm probably wrong.
That doesn't look like
Stop it. Don't look at the bag.
Well, yeah. See, that's another thing.
Oh, Katie's trying
Yeah.
to cheat now.
It's
whatever.
I'm not cheating.
It's
I'm just
a
using
Pinot Noir
everything.
bottle.
Bad.
It's alright. It's killed this full bottle already.
No. What are you
We
talking
have it, now
about?
let's
There's
kill it.
5 of us. I mean, that's a glass.
True, very
That's
true.
exactly a glass. So
I told you all not to fondle the bottles.
No one fondled the bottle.
I haven't touched it yet. I never even met her. I didn't touch anything.
see, I feel like this could be.
I was at home.
I think this could be the Pinot Blanc from
Yeah.
Wolfberger.
Which they call Weissburgunder in Austria. It could be, but do we have one of those in the house?
The Wolfberger Pinot Blanc.
Oh, the Wolfburger. I'm sorry. I keep thinking Austria. Maybe that's
But
why I
We
guessed
had a
it.
Spotburgunder, but that was a red.
Yeah, no,
So-
Schwabergunder it's Pinot Noir.
Yep.
I also think it could be
Also known as Blauburgunder.
one of the Caltern whites. I feel like it possibly.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we can play the
Color of
game.
the bottle, it says no.
Well, we can play the same game that we did last week, and of course we welcome comments in the chat
What do
room.
you think? What do you think, Cassandra? You haven't. What do
You haven't
think?
piped in them?
enough.
I piped in a
You
little
got
bit.
You got rose.
Oh, yeah, no,
You
sorry.
got
Mhm.
rose,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I meant as far as grape choice.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of a Sauvignon Blanc. It does
Yes,
have
that's
that
what-
acidity that you're talking about. I taste some minerality and some saltiness, like it's near the sea, maybe.
Damn. Well, that counts out Austria.
Yeah. That is one thing about the Austrian growing region. It's completely landlocked, and because of the Alps, they don't get any of that climate. You don't get any of
No.
the ocean climate. The Alps just knocks everything down.
And so we can play the game that we started to play last week, which is if we can't figure out the winery, which I think is impossible, without Katie cheating and looking at the bottle shape.
But no, I was also using my brain.
She's thinking about inventory and cost.
Inventory.
Formula,
I just
Knocking things down.
Would you all think from a past conversations, is this a warmer climate wine or a cooler climate wine?
Cool climate.
I'd say cool.
Kimberly also gets like a Vermentino.
Vermentino, I
Like, ooh,
could totally see that with a.
Especially the body, yeah.
Yeah, white wines, by the way, are wicked harder to me to blind guess than reds, because reds always have Merlot. It's a Merlot, and Cab is quite different. But whites are like, yeah, you kind of get a lot of the same thing from all whites, unless you get some really grassy ass Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
Right.
So this to me has that herbaceous character, parts of it that Cassandra loves, but not enough of it for it to be a Sauvignon Blanc.
No.
Oh, the floral notes.
And that's what I'm saying. It has
Rose,
just.
I'm getting those.
It has just the right elements of light flower, light fruit on the citrusy side in my eyes, or my palate, that it starts to tick off all the Gruner boxes.
Yeah.
All right.
That's just me. You guys said you take your guesses. I was totally wrong on Pinot Noir last week on the first bottle, which I still would put money on that I'm right, and it's
it's not
mislabeled.
actually a
It's
Pinot
actually
Noir.
mislabeled.
Yeah.
It's not a Pinot Noir from Estonia.
Right.
Anyone
All right.
else want to gander a guess? Are we waiting till the end, or
I think we
because this is only one, just only one
Yeah,
mystery
I mean,
wine?
Jesse, do you have any?
Nope.
That's fine.
Nope.
Did you liked it? Yes. You
Yeah,
enjoyed it?
no, I agree with everything you said. I definitely get the Sauvignon Blanc flavors, but not confident enough to put my finger on it.
I like the guesses of Vermentino. I like the guess of ferment. Although the
Oh,
ferment
ferment.
we had from Hungary, I think, had a creamier back end on it than this one.
I don't think this is fair.
I don't think it is either, but I'm just thinking of.
I don't think it's floral enough for me for men.
All right,
Yeah,
no
but
more.
I could see that. For all we know, that is it because
I'll be shy
Who
in here.
wants to undress this bottle?
Well, that's your job.
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if it was a
she's
Chardonnay.
she's like the arm off stage. I don't want to have to
Just
like.
a disembodied
I
arm.
can. Yeah. There you go.
I need a couple green screen sleeves for you.
Alright, everybody can open it up. It is the Mule Thuriel from Caltern.
Oh,
Yeah.
good one.
Katie was on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that grape is exceptionally close to everything we're talking about.
It's very hard to put the bottle in front of the camera.
I know.
And you're like,
Wiggling
which
around.
one? Which one? Yeah.
Now that's a label that we've talked about
Love this
a
label.
number of
Yeah.
times. Coming out of Italy, northeast Italy. This is the first time I've actually had this particular wine from them.
And if you've had Gruner and Mueller side by side, they're awfully close. I'm not defending myself, by the way. I should have maybe guessed this only because it didn't have the more racing acidity that most Gruners have. I thought it was because it was a little warmer,
I feel
temperature-wise.
like maybe you chose that because you were trying to stick to the theme.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to, like, I don't know, change your opinion.
Oh, no. I have no qualms about being wrong because I was 50% right.
So I also, like,
we did say cool climate
Yes.
and Alps.
And I
here
get like
there.
that diesel I got that from Auto Adige. And again, I know y'all think I'm cheating, which is fine. But I also get in Jeanette's brain because I was like, oh, make sure you swap out the corks. And
Yes,
she's like,
that's
yeah,
cheating.
I swapped out the corks.
That's
And I'm like,
cheating.
I think she's trying to like reverse psychologize, like leave the right cork in. Like I like really was like, I think Jeanette's like trying to like mess with us. And I was like, wow, Caltern cork, huh?
Once
That's
again,
weird.
Well, it's
But-
funny because I switched the cork out and I must have switched it with another Caltern.
You did.
The only one that fit.
Yes, and there's a reason it fits. Like, and I was in my head going, Jeanette probably was like, I'm gonna switch the cork and then I'm gonna fake them out and then put the right cork in. Yeah, like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you would like work. Yeah.
even if you'd have told me this was Caltern, I still would have probably gotten it wrong and went with their Pinot Blanc.
Yeah. Yep. Their Mueller is delicious. So.
It is
All their wines are
really
great.
good wine.
Yeah. Love all
And
their
speaking of great wines that we don't have to guess about anymore, let's get on to this Anton Bauer Rosé. I love this rosé.
So much that I
Agreed.
had to say, please don't drink it all before Monday.
They had to hide it. They hid it from me so
Do you
that I
want to join
wouldn't.
in? We can
No.
scoot over. Okay, Jeanette's just like the voice off screen. You're probably like, where's Jeanette? No, it's fine. Just the voice from
Pay
outside.
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
And I also, so as the Spotify has such great playlists that I found a Austrian classical music station. So these are highlights from Austrian orchestras, I guess. I don't know. There was no Italian, like we had an Italian dinner party radio, but there was no Austrian dinner party station.
That's
I
unacceptable.
don't know.
We need to get,
There was
we need to get in touch with
Austrian
Spotify.
death metal.
Oh, of course.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Nordic countries all the way down to Austria love their death metal. Love it. Oh, thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
That's good. That'll hold. Because I'm going to drink a whole bottle of this later by myself. So I won't take it all right
This is
here, right
a
now.
great bottle that we've come to drink a fair amount of this around the store these days.
And it is amazing how many great Austrian wines we've run into in the last couple years. You know, I've had one or two here or there, mostly Gruner Veltliners. That's another reason I just assumed Jeanette was going to sneak in a Gruner, because it is Austria's #1 grape. It's prolific. It's almost synonymous. They grow, I don't know, probably more than 75% of Gruner on planet Earth, and it's their most produced white wine. So that I've had for years, and it's good. It's always been good to very good. If you like Sauvignon Blanc, you'll really like Gruner Veltliner from Austria. However, in the last few years, every single time a rep has come and tasted Austrian wines with us, I've loved every single one.
Yeah.
Their industry is just on point right now. And so I do have to,
That's good.
while everybody sips on this rosé and contemplates it, let me give you the 60-second thumbnail sketch of the Austrian wine industry, because it's hilariously sad and now happy. So the reason that none of you, anybody that's my age or older, hell, anybody that's probably over 30, has never had any Austrian wines, is because they went through this huge scandal back in the 80s. I want to say it was 85. And the scandal was that they were producing mostly white wines, mostly Müller-Thurgau, white blends, a Müller-Thurgau, Pinot Blanc, and some reds. Spätburgunder is one of the reds they do, and I forget one of the others. Zweigelt. And so they had a decent wine industry back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. It wasn't competing with France, but it was about on par with Germany. So all of us have had German wines, even if you don't like them. You're like, yeah, but I've had them. I see them on the supermarket shelf. But you've never seen Austrian wines for over 30 years. And that's because in 85 there was this huge scandal where it was discovered that more than a few winemakers were actually adding antifreeze into their white wines as a stabilizing agent. And if you've ever tasted antifreeze, it's absolutely delicious.
That's why animals, like, pets,
It's
animals die from it.
delicious. It's sweet. It has a creamy sweetness to it. It's what cake icing tastes like, quite frankly, but in, glowing yellow liquid form.
Man,
And so,
I want some.
and again, for those of you that have never tasted antifreeze, good, because it's also deadly. It's deadly poisonous. So the amounts that these Austrian winemakers would have been putting in the wine would not have been at lethal levels, obviously, because they would have killed a bunch of people, and you would have heard about this story already. They were putting it in very trace amounts to add the sweetness. Because as you might imagine, Austria, it's a cool place. And I mean that temperature-wise, not hipster-wise. It's a quite cool climate. So in really bad years, you would have trouble getting enough sugars in the grapes during the growing season to make decent wine. When it's a really bad cold year, you don't get enough sugars. It's like any other fruit. They won't ripen enough. And especially in a challenging, cool climate like Austria, if it's a very bad winter or a very bad spring or a very bad summer and it's too cold, you won't get enough sugar to actually make decent wine. And the wines will be exceptionally acidic. So whenever grapes are being ripening, they have all this acid. And if you ever had a Granny Smith apple, bite a Granny Smith apple, it's tart. That's a lot of acid. If you let the green Granny Smith apple stay on the tree, it turns red, and it's sweet. Same shit with grapes. So you can pull off a very young grape, and it's super tart because it's all this acid concentration. But over time, the acids degrade and the sweetness level builds up. In Austria, they decided, I guess, during some bad years, well, it was a bad year. We didn't get enough sugar in the grapes. You can just kind of put some antifreeze in there, and it sweetens it right up. And it helps balance all that acid. And it was discovered, I don't even know the full story of who figured it out, But boy, when it was figured out, the industry crashed and burned, and I mean it crashed and burned in months. It was just done. So again, I think it's 85 or 86. They just stopped making wine because nobody was buying it, and I mean nobody, not even the locals. So that it's taken this long since the mid to late 80s up to now, and that's what, 30 years? Is my math right? For them to get over that huge negative press that was associated with this scandal. And lo and behold, there were people making quality Austrian wines back in the 80s who just got screwed. Just got screwed by a few bad apples, pun intended, who were manipulating the wine in that way. And quietly, these folks have built their industry back up. And because they know they had to get over this bad press, they're making great wine. And that's what you got to do. If everybody thinks your wine sucks because you have a bad reputation, then you have to make something that's not average. It has to be quite good. And so I keep, again, this coming back full story, a full circle in the story, I just don't have any bad Austrian wines anymore. The people come and taste us out on 10 different Austrian wines. I'm like, I would drink every single one of these. And they're quite affordable because they're intentionally making it affordable because they want to break back into the American market or back into the international market. So it's actually quite a good time to buy Austrian wines, or at least experiment with Austrian wines.
Absolutely.
I know that all sounded pre-prepared. It wasn't. I'm just that damn good. Go Austrian wine. Hashtag Austrian wines. Hope you're watching. Love you, Austrian wines. And now, Baby likes Austrian wines.
Hi, baby.
So now all of you can talk about Anton Bauer, one of my favorite producers, along with Hillinger, the next wine we're having. Two of my favorite producers in Austria, like the Caltern, which is from Italy, not Austria, but everything these three wineries do, I just like to love. Everything they do. Now I'm taking a break. You guys go.
There you go. Well, this one, Zweigelt, is the grape that you brought up. It's the
this is Weigelt.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
It's a blend, Zweigelt, Syrah, and Grenache. Merlot. Zweigelt's...
Well, maybe that was the 2017 version of what I found on the website about it. So
Okay.
maybe it's different.
Well, don't take my word.
Yeah.
So good.
But Zweigelt's it's number 2 to Gruner in what they produce. Zweigelt is actually a child of Blaufränkisch, which is the next grape that we'll try. But
I'm glad he knows all this.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
I'm a generalist. I don't know the specifics.
see, I fall into the details.
So this is a 2018.
Yep.
So this isn't even the current vintage.
I think it actually might be the current version.
Yeah, they might not release year after, because we just got this back in because we sold out of it last year.
No, but we've gone through a whole bunch of this. This is a really good seller. It's a great porch wine.
Yeah, this has been on. I think I put it on the
Great
Port
book.
Sipper at one point. It was
Yeah.
on that flight. This is like just a little berry.
All right, now let's start talking about the smells. What's everybody smelling?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, so you get the berries coming right out of the gate. A little bit of citrus, small amount.
Hint of flour. No, just like this is what you want to hot weather. Just hang out and drink something that's. I really don't.
Do you have any particular smells or flavors you pick up?
Definitely get the strawberry, the touch of raspberry.
Yeah.
It is very, very drinkable.
Yeah.
Oh, it's quite quaffable, chuggable.
Yeah.
Pour it
But it
down
has
my
a nice
throat.
body for a rosé.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, what'd you say?
It has a nice body for a
Yes,
rosé.
that's what impresses
Yeah.
me about this
The
wine.
color, you can tell it's a little heavier.
It's a great, interesting color, but it does have a little bit more mouthfeel than a lot of rosés that tend to be on the thinner side, which is fine. I love a lot of thinner-bodied rosés, but this one has an unctuousness and a weight to it.
Yeah.
So it's got that strawberry I like, and whoever said flower, it's a certain flower, but I can't even
Yeah.
point what flower it is. It's like a general white flower
And quite often when
mixed in.
you get a denser, heavier rosé, you also that is accompanied with sweetness. And you don't get that with this one. It still maintains it's a little bit of dry running through, and the weight doesn't equate to sugar like so often does in rosé.
The first time I had it, it really threw me off because I thought it was sweet.
Right.
And I was like, but it's not. I thought that there was some higher sugar to it because of that viscosity and that body to it. But yeah, I mean, it really does have that nice dry finish, and there's not that sugary.
Yeah, there's no candy to this. It's
Yeah.
not the Jolly Rancher.
I also like this wine because I feel like it can hold its own with some food. You know, like some
So-
rosés, like you just. I think even sometimes white wines are better with food pairing than rosés, the really light ones. But this one has like enough body that I'm like, I could do some charcuterie and cheese with this.
I was getting ready to say, what cheese wouldn't
I
pair
know,
with
yeah,
this?
I was like-
What cheese wouldn't pair with this?
I mean, even blue cheese. You can go that far down the cheese path, and it would still work.
Yes. I even had
Blue cheese is the end of the cheese path. For those of you that are uninformed, that's the end.
I mean, that's the end as far as normal
over
cheese.
the top
Yeah, we
richness.
had that furry one that one time that was
Well,
like,
no,
but-
they're stinky cheese.
Yeah.
But blue cheese is semi-stinky and punches you in the face
Yeah, it
simultaneously.
makes sure you know. Hey, by the way, I'm over here.
Your palate is blue cheese assaults the palate.
Yes.
Yes.
But
That's why I say it's
damn
the end.
good.
Oh, of course.
So damn good.
Lots of things assault the palate. Liquor assaults the palate. Let's be honest. A shot of bourbon assaults the palate, but it's good.
So good.
This wine does not assault my palate.
No, it's great.
My palate just wants to go to sleep in this wine, bathing in this wine.
So Cindy Cook was like, never gave any thought to Austrian wine before. Really like this. James has been munching on cheese this evening, so he's already on it. Anne-Marie said brie would be good with this.
Yeah,
I can see
that's where I was
that.
going.
Oh, like
Creamy brie, triple cream
especially
brie.
like the melted one we did.
Mhm.
Yep.
Oh, that was
Is that the
just-
triple cream brie?
Yeah. And like cook it a little bit in the oven.
Because a lot of white wines go with most white cheeses too. Everybody wants to pair red wine with cheese. That's fine, but actually white wines are, as a general rule, better with white cheeses. But there's something about this one, I guess because it's a rosé, that it has the white wine sensibility that pairs with white cheeses, and then it's bringing just enough of that strawberry in. That's just enough of a flavor for red wines that makes it even better that I want some
I honestly
cheese.
could see this with like a super fresh fruit dessert too. Like you
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
fruit, but like maybe like a little pound cake or like a little with berries or like I don't know, like something like really light white cake with like this. I think could be fun.
Yeah, super cliche, but strawberry shortcake would be perfect.
Yeah, there you go, like something like that.
Could you eat something spicy with this? Maybe? Would that be weird?
I actually think you can do almost every rosé.
Yeah, I can see that.
If I had a spicy dish in front of me, I would not be scared to try any cold rosé
Yeah.
from anywhere. But because of the roundness on this palate, I think that might actually be even a really great pairing.
I feel like that. I feel like that Mueller could be like a good spicy.
Oh, yeah.
That
food.
Mueller as
maybe
well.
better than this.
That's
but,
where I would lean with
Yeah.
spicy.
Yeah.
And
But
with this
think,
one,
this
I would be more of an Asian spice versus a Mexican spice.
True.
Well, not to keep coming back to the Gruner, which isn't present at this party, but we always do Gruners, or really like Gruners with spicy food. The Gruner, an Austrian Gruner Veltner's awesome with any Asian cuisine.
Yeah.
It's got any heat, and actually sushi. It's kind of a go-to.
Little
Sauvignon
sriracha.
Blanc, obviously a Sauvignon Blanc pairs with most sushi, or is a great pair for sushi.
Yep.
But Gruners are a fantastic one too because of that acidic backbone. Just kind of works.
Yeah.
Just kind of works.
Absolutely.
And you said you didn't get any Jolly Rancher candy from this. I don't either. But there's something on the palate that just almost like a kiss of cotton candy. There's something that it's not sweet, but it's that flavor. It's that it's just a slight candy flavor I get, a general candy, and it's just there. And every time I smell it too, I keep wanting to say minerality, which is actually kind of a stupid thing to say for smell, because what does a rock smell like? But you know what I'm saying with there's a minerality component to it that's hard to put a finger on too, but that's what helps round it out and make it kind of fun and great.
So I had this weird vision where I was like, oh, remember you used to have, maybe this is like my
generation, if you have my cultural reference.
There you
We used
go.
to have these dots that were like stuck to paper.
Yeah, candy dots.
Yeah, they used to eat. Like, I kind of
course.
get like a hint of that.
That's what I'm saying. General,
Yeah, like,
general
I don't know.
candy flavor. That's exactly what I was trying
I
to
don't know.
say.
I was like, remember,
I
like
don't
most
know.
of it, you like pretty much ate the paper. Like, I mean,
Yes.
you couldn't actually peel it off properly. But
And I'm gonna answer your question. What does minerality smell like? It's actually a word. It's called petrichor. So on a nice hot summer day, the rain just starts to fall and hits the asphalt. That smell, that kind of wet, rocky smell, that's your aroma of minerality.
If it was raining in the forest with some rock outcrop, I would more agree with that. But asphalt to me, wet asphalt's a very
Well-
distinct smell, and I'm like,
I don't mean necessarily hot, wet asphalt, but just that kind of that flinty brightness.
yeah.
that's it. And I get a touch of that on the back end, and I think that's what makes
Baby child makes the cutest little noise.
Yeah.
When it's not sweet.
all wines, appeal to somebody, unless they're cheaply made or flawed. We don't even count those as wines. But all wines appeal to different palates at different times for different things. But in general, the reason I like wines like this one is because of all the things we're talking about, which means it's complex. So with increasing complexity in wine, it's more interesting. There's different layers of things, and we're all going back and forth, and we're mostly agreeing with each other. But this is just a rosé. I mean, it's just a great porch sipping wine. It's not terribly expensive. I've already drank a case of it in the last month. But when you sit and actually analyze it, of like, why do I like this so much? I think one of the core answers is it's got a lot going on. There's layers of complexity, and that's what makes kind of great wines great. That doesn't mean that all wines have to be complex for me to like them, because no, a nice Vino Verde, they're pretty one-dimensional.
Yep.
They're just acidic, and they got some fruit, and you like them. A lot of Sauvignon Blancs are like, yep, there's a shit ton of grass in them and acid. And it's like, yep, that's what I want right now.
Exactly.
So it's not that you have to, I'm not saying the only complex wines are good. No. There's a lot of simple wines that are quite awesome. But this particular wine, I'm like, man, I can't stop drinking. When I can't stop drinking something, that's because it's bringing something new to my palate every time I sip it. And so I'm never getting bored with it.
Absolutely. I think, whatever you're eating or whatever you're doing when you're drinking this wine, whatever the pH of your mouth is, really determines what this wine tastes like. And it can go in so many different directions and be so very, very versatile based upon that.
I love you, Anton. If you're watching, Anton,
Hashtag Anton Bauer.
if you're one of the 3 people watching, Anton,
Apparently, he did his studies in Burgundy, which is kind of like his hands-on terroir. That's what he's younger.
so Anton is actually a real human?
Yes.
Anton
He
Bauer
took
is a
over-
person?
yes.
Okay.
He is a
It's the name of a winery. That never means that it actually is a person.
Right.
It's very true, and Anton Bauer was born in 1971, 4th generation.
See? It's my age. Boom. Well, okay, I'm older, but...
Yeah, he studied in
He's in between you and
Yeah,
There you go.
studied in
Right,
Burgundy and is really all about, just back to basics of like hand harvesting and like trying to let the grapes express themselves, not to give too much to it. So
Sounds like one of the newer generation of folk that's trying to combat what John was talking about earlier in the downfall of Austria. But if he is out there, if you are watching by some
Anton.
slim miracle, good shit, man.
yeah,
And I haven't, even though I drank a ton of it, I've not done any research on it because I'm just that lazy. But I just picked up the label and it's from Wagram, which is a hilarious name. Wagram.
Yep.
Wagram, Austria. I don't know that much about the place, except I'm pretty sure virtually all of the most premium Austrian wine comes from that region. I think it's like the Napa Valley of Austria. I'm not swearing to that.
It's
But if
one of
I
the
recognize
top
the name,
three.
that means I've seen it more. I've seen it in readings and stuff that I've done.
Yeah, it's in-
Wagram.
There's 3 top regions in Austria, and Wagram is one of them.
There you go. Jason knows.
All of them are located up in the northeastern part of the country.
It's a little more mustache.
Yeah.
Wait, what's your handle?
What's your handle?
What's your handle?
One more blue.
Oh, I'll take another blue.
One
yeah,
more blue?
another blue.
Would you like a blue?
Well, we're getting ready to go to the red.
Oh, I know, but I just wanted another blue.
I'm just literally going to chug this before I go to the red because after I drink the red, it's going to ruin me for this wine for the rest of the night. No, I'm joking. I'll drink a half a teaspoon of water. I'll be ready to go back to the rosé.
Did anyone taste pretzels or some
Pretzels?
yeast?
A little
Taste
yeast?
pretzels and yeast?
A little breadiness?
A little bit.
Huh.
Like
See, you just added another layer.
Now, when did you notice that flavor, though?
when I first sipped it.
Really?
Yeah.
I would
And
I
was
would
trying
have
to figure out
thought
what
as it
was.
got warmer that would express itself a little bit more. But right out of the
It says, well, learning more, he's all about
Strawberries
longer,
and pretzels.
longer periods of contact with
Super
yeast
taster.
that he does to give a little bit of yeastiness. So
oh, nice. Look at you. See? Super taster.
I'm telling you, they're super tasters.
She needs a cake.
That's why I have to say a bunch of words and act very confident as quickly as I can, because the reality is, well, actually, they're smarter. They'll probably taste more stuff. Now, as soon as you say that, it's like the power of suggestion, too. But it's like, yes, there is a
Well done.
ready yeasty something. It's another component of this wine.
I don't know if I would say pretzel.
See, I've had that in my mind
Yeah.
all night since last week.
Oh, the power of suggestion. You know, it works.
It does.
Don't fall for it.
Well, that's the thing is, I like it. I like people to say things like that because it makes you think a different way. And as soon as Cassandra said that, I'm like, nope, totally get it. And then Katie's looking up saying, yep, they have extended yeast contact. So, yep, it's in there. We just all don't taste the same way, and so we all can't. We all detect things slightly different, and some things may, not appeal, but be something that's easily more identifiable to you than it is to me.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you say it, I'm like, oh yeah.
It is.
I think that's part of the roundness that I so enjoy in this rosé. Just so enjoy.
So one of they're just on, I was trying to search for their website, but like sometimes Google and finding international websites are very difficult. So I just found it now. One of the descriptors is spicy biscuit. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that.
Yes,
that's-
Austrians, that's a pretzel.
That's what they used to call me in high school. That's right.
Oh, we still call you that, Jason.
And I'm like, was that translation? I'm like,
Spicy
biscuit. Like,
spicy biscuit.
yeah, I can see, that's why I get like pretzel. I'm like, yeah.
And that's
So now you know how to describe that wine in 2 words.
Perfect.
It's spicy biscuit.
I can see you at a customer at a table of like, what's spicy biscuit? People going,
What the fuck is wrong with this wine?
well, the thing is, the biscuit I'm getting
Yeah,
now that
I
we're
get
talking
that,
about,
yeah.
but I don't spicy.
Spicy,
I'm,
yeah.
I get
I'm a little intrigued by spicy. I don't get that.
Maybe just a little bit that little bit of bitiness on the tongue, perhaps, but it doesn't even.
But who knows what the Austrians are thinking? I don't know.
well, who knows? If
Spicy to them, maybe ketchup.
Maybe, like, I always get sometimes when you go to winery websites and they're like, oh, here's the English version. You're like, oh, did you use Google Translate? Because it doesn't seem to be working.
You should have got an English
Yeah,
speaker to translate
Yeah,
for
you're
you.
like, what are these words?
This has essences of ketchup. No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
that
you're
was
like-
mislabeled.
So I don't know if this is what they're trying to say.
All right.
Our third one.
Are we out of time? I mean,
No, we're actually
That's
doing
10 minutes.
Wow.
We're doing really well.
wow.
And we were actually like 2 minutes late. So.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Of course.
So I noticed the difference between the mouthfeel of the white compared to this one. Is it
Yes.
a little more like silky or I don't know, oily, slicker? I don't know.
Yes.
Creamier.
Creamier. Is that what that is?
I would say it's more acidic and less personally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there a term?
Again, I think it's all the stuff we've been talking about. There's multiple layers of this rosé, and you named one that's yeast contact, and that adds a little body to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the color of the grape, or the color in the wine that comes from the grape skins that makes a rosé, that adds a little body to it. So this is an overgeneralization, but it doesn't make it false. That white wines tend to be lighter in body, red wines tend to be much fuller in body, and that's because there's more sugars or more alcohol and or more acid and or more tannic component, which is the color of the wine. So as you add things to a wine, it gets more and more body. It's more, I consider like weight. So if you're going to keep adding on layers of something, there's a lot of sugar in this wine, and there's a lot of acid in this wine, and there's a lot of tannin in this wine, there's a lot of color in this wine. You just keep stacking it up, and you're getting more and more weight to the wine. So in general, a rosé, has a little more weight, a little more body than an average white wine. And a red wine has quite a bit more, on average, body than a rosé or a white wine. That seem reasonable to everybody?
Absolutely.
Kimberly threw out that the rosé was crushed strawberry biscuits, and I was like, oh.
There you go.
I like that. Combining them all together. That's real good. Yes.
There's your three adjectives.
Yes, but now when I said a generalized candy flavor, and just hints of it, I would not call this wine candy, but I get a hint of it, Frankenberry. There's a cultural reference for you. Frankenberry. Who remembers Frankenberry?
Of course I do. My mother would
No.
never buy that.
Yes? No?
No. That was
Count Chocula. You got Count Chocula?
Yeah.
Count Chocula.
I have cleared off Food Lion shelves of Count Chocula.
Count Chocula.
But Frankenberry you haven't seen in a long time.
Frankenberry,
You don't know what Frankenberry
I
is?
do. I
Okay.
don't do Frankenberry. I only do
Jeanette does not do Frankenberry.
I mean, you should have seen the look
We were
on
not
her face.
inquiring
She was so
about-
offended.
You know,
I
hey,
don't
we were
do-
not bringing sex life into this, all right? You do not have
Oh
to.
my god.
Whoa. Gee.
Too far.
No,
too
but
far.
Frankenberry.
That's what I'm here. I'm here to take it too far. But
The
hints,
baby needs to make a visit.
hints
too.
of Frankenberry.
Baby.
Because Frankenberry, for those of you who are too young, which is awesome for you,
Good for you guys.
Count Chocula was the premier brand. It's a breakfast cereal, Count Chocula. You heard of that, right?
Yeah.
It was super popular probably back in the 60s as far as I can remember, but in the 70s and 80s for sure. And it was so popular that they came out with a strawberry version called Frankenberry with a comically challenged spin on Frankenstein that was all pink.
Comically challenged. I like that.
And then, and
I just
now,
want to show you.
this is a question only for Jason, because he'll be the only one. They actually came out with a third cereal.
I've been trying to remember it. And I can't.
Blueberry?
Oh!
You know why? It's because her mom said
Blueberry! Thank you.
Cassandra's mom in the house.
Yeah.
I should have asked the chat room because I knew none of them would have it. I thought
Blueberry.
Jason might, but the third one was
As
Blueberry.
soon as you said Frankenberry, I started trying to think of the third one.
And I
couldn't come up
loved
with
Blueberry, but it failed miserably. Failed miserably on the market.
it. My mother was
So-
never buying us any of that.
Count Chocula was a vampire.
So expensive.
Frankenberry was Frankenstein, and Boo-Berry was
Was a
this
ghost.
poor ghost that had mental depression. Seriously, his eyes were half closed. He was like, Boo-Berry.
He was just baked, man.
Yeah, he was. He was like high. Go look it up. He was like a little high ghost.
Google the book.
And Jim Bell said the trifecta of Halloween cereal.
The trifecta.
There it is.
The Halloween cereals. Absolutely.
Wow.
So hints of Frankenberry. But Frankenberry, if you ever get a chance to try it, it's such a fake strawberry taste, but it's the perfect description in my brain from my experience because it was kind of strawberry, but a little bit of that candy too. That hint of generalized candy that Katie associated with dots.
I don't know because they were like just a hint of.
I think they're called candy dots.
I think that's what they're
Yeah.
just called.
There was like a hint of flavor. It was just kind of
Yes,
like
a hint
the
of.
struggle of like getting them off
with a
paper.
little bit of
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah, I know. Like have and be like. Eh.
It's just got the slight woodiness. I'm really enjoying it.
Oh my God, we've talked for 30 minutes about this rosé. Crap. Oh, we're so sorry, Anton. Anton, I apologize. There's no Frankenberry in your wine.
No.
The thing is, I love this Hillinger too. Like this
All
is-
right.
All right, let's go to the Hillinger. Let's
Nice
go.
segue.
Also, if you Google Hillinger, this winemaker is gorgeous. So.
Whoa, hey, hey.
Easy.
I know.
Hey,
He's
now.
in like male model, and you're like, what?
Look at Cassandra.
Come on
craning her neck.
now.
Cassandra's like,
Leo
show me.
We have to be
Show
politically
me.
sensitive in today's trying times. We don't
He's
talk
got like
about
the European, like
We don't-
faux, like.
we
I
don't
know,
talk
faux
about
hair,
other
faux
humans.
Break your neck trying to
We
look
don't
at it.
talk about how other humans look, dear. All right.
I'm
We
sorry.
don't
All
talk.
right.
It's super modern.
All of
Like,
us
look
have
at
to
this
pretend
look
like
at
we
that
don't
model.
have
What is-
desires
what
and
is-
no one ever has
yes,
sex.
yes.
That's
That's it. That's
Look
it.
at the pose. He's like, all like,
That's
he's
everything.
like posing. You know.
All right, put that in the
Put it
chat
your
room.
pants.
I know.
Cut and paste the link and put it in the chat room so everybody can see what the hell you're talking about. He doesn't look like just a male model. He looks like a 10-year-old male model. Like, this guy's not making wine.
Yeah.
But he actually is, and he makes killer wine because we're drinking one right now.
And this is the
This
Hillinger
is the freaking
Blau
winery.
Frankish.
I know.
That's the winery?
Yes, how modern is that?
That's
Like,
my dream house,
Oh, he is,
actually.
he is kind of pretty.
sorry.
He is kind of pretty. All right.
Yeah.
I'll give you
That's
that.
right. He's like
He's
got the
kinda
V-neck,
pretty.
like he's
All right.
like, oh.
He's very
Get reload.
European.
Get reload. There you go.
Yeah.
Look at that house. That's like my
The
dream house I
winery.
want to
That's
build.
the winery.
That's the one. It's like a
Jeez.
box, like
glass and steel.
I want some of that.
Wow.
But they're super modern.
Everybody do keep in mind that America is almost exactly 60 years behind European culture. Somewhere between 60 and 100 years. I shouldn't have said exact. Meaning that everything the Europeans did 100 years ago, we're just now getting to, including wine culture. So wine culture did not exist in America 30 years. It just didn't exist. Didn't exist. Attention to great food in America didn't exist. Think about all the cooking shows you all now watch, all the restaurants, all of the hipster trending restaurants, farm to table didn't exist. All these are things that, here's another one. Microbreweries. Every town having their own brewery didn't exist. Guess where all of those things did exist? Europe, for the last 500 years, since the Renaissance. So America America leads for technology, science, Hollywood, pop culture. America leads on all of those fronts and has, I don't know, for a century. Europe has always led in the culinary, in wine, in different types of consumerism, in attention to detail, in fashion. There's no big fashion centers in America. They're all in Europe. So Europe has always had the lion's share of leading in those avenues, and America is about 50 to 100 years behind at all times. But we've been catching up. And so the reason I just said that is looking at this supermodel winemaker from Austria. I'm like, wow. I wish I was younger because America's going to look beautiful 50 years from now. Everybody will be a fashion model walking around. Even the ones who actually work in industry and business will be like, no, of course. Of course they play soccer into their 50s. And they own a winery and a small luxury line of yachts. That's where we're going, but America's not there yet. We'll get another 20, 30, 40 years, we'll get there.
It's going to be too late for me.
I know, but now I've successfully killed the entire hour, so let's talk about this wine real quick.
Blau
What are you guys
Frankish.
getting out of this Blau Frankish from Hillinger? I love how their names are also Austrian too. Hillinger and Anton Bauer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're not hiding nationality at all.
Mm-mm.
I just love the nose in this wine. I just like.
The nose belies the flavor just a bit, though. The nose comes off to me. It's got those big, dark fruit, plummy flavors or aromas. A little bit of gas, a little bit of diesel, a little bit of tree, rotted tree is what I'm getting. Like
Damn.
You just knocked over a
But what species of tree, Jason?
Oh, I believe that would be Austrian cedar. No, but it's kind of got a little bit of that rotten log, just not in a bad way. I don't mean that, but kind of like a little bit of a dank forest smell, a little wet woodiness.
Dank forest, I like it. All right, ladies, you're up.
So
Ladies are up.
I could. Yeah, well, whatever you want.
I agree with the dark fruit. I get a touch of like the cinnamon.
Oh.
Probably more on the palate than
As soon
in
as you
the,
said that, it popped.
See?
than in
Power
the
suggestion.
aroma, but yeah, those dark fruit flavors.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Super tasty.
Ladies to my right.
I smell when you open up a jar of bread and butter pickles.
So
Wow.
I'm like, I get.
How specific.
I get like a lot of
That's good.
herbal, like almost. I get.
That's
so,
the same. You guys are talking the
So
same
much
herbal.
almost. What's the thing you put like on your chest to relieve colds?
Vicks
Vicks.
Vapor Rub,
I get like a
little
hit,
mint-
menthol.
mentholated?
Like I get like a little bit of that. I just get like I got remember the first time I get a hint of violet.
That's where I was
And
going.
I was like, I get
That was
violet.
mine. I'm glad I went last. So
And
somebody had to
violet and
for
like a
me.
little bit of lavender. It was like, yeah.
If
I
a
love the smell of this wine. It's
if
one
a
of my
if, to
favorites.
me if a plum and lavender and violets had a baby, it's in this glass. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. I'm just imagining it happen.
Because with lavender and violet, they have that. Those are very distinct floral components, but they also are on the earthy
Yes.
side, so they have a
Yeah.
greenness to them as well. So I think that's when you're saying menthol. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting lavender and violet, and a little bit of leaves crushed up in it too.
But then on
You
the
get the lavender now.
It's just such a.
Yeah.
Right?
And honestly, the very first time I smelled this wine, I was like, this smell is wonderful. I'm going to hate this wine. It's almost too perfumed.
Yeah.
It's got so much going on. And with a white wine, I can handle a perfumed white wine, but I've had perfumed reds, and it coats your mouth. And I'm like, "Ugh, that's all you can taste. This one's got it
But then it's
right.
like those dark fruits and plum that come through on the palate. Like that's why I love the smell, and just kind of like more mellow through the palate. Like,
Seems really balanced.
yeah.
Agreed.
It's a little lighter. I mean, like I think it's not as tense as some reds. And
No, it's quite light on
Yeah,
the body, I think.
yeah.
I'd give it medium body
Yeah.
at best.
yeah.
Kimberly Batnellian was saying similar to a Baco Noir, which
Yeah.
yeah,
Bacchus, I've had a little more intense. This one,
yeah. It's like fresh.
yeah.
Fresh red. That's what
It has so much going on in the nose. My brain keeps getting tricked because when I'm drinking, it's like it's gonna be bigger than it is. It's gonna be more light. It's gonna be more palate coating than it is. It's gonna be heavier than it is.
That's what I said
Than it's
at
not.
the beginning. It just
But it's not a disconnect.
No.
You know,
But
I
it
mean,
belies-
It still flows. It doesn't feel like I'm smelling something different than what I'm tasting.
Yeah.
It's just a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and the reason I sometimes you have to work hard to focus with some wines, and the best example is a lot of people when they have Viognier or Gewürztraminer, they can be totally dry, but they're so floral or they have so much fruit on the nose that people drink them like, I don't like sweet wines, and it's like, it's not sweet. The mind is tricking you because it's saying, I associate all these smells with a certain thing, and I'm already locking in what you're going to taste
right.
before you even taste it. And so this is one of those wines my brain's telling me nope, and then I'm like, yeah, you're wrong, brain. This is good.
Yeah, this is a really great wine. And as far as food pairings, I think just about anything's up for grabs with this.
Yeah. I also love that they had that slight purple, like the purple on the label, makes me think purple wine. I feel purple. If you see color or taste color in wines, I'm like
Taste color.
Taste the color. All right.
I know. I just I taste
Stop
purple.
taking acid,
To me,
shit.
I see lavender, violet, and I just a blueberry. I just taste purple in this wine.
It's funny you say blueberry because this is the exact blue. This blue in this label is the exact color that Veruca salt turns in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. When she turns into a blueberry.
Violet Beauregard, not
I'm sorry, Veruca salt was she's the one who fell down the egg chute. You're right. Thank you.
Commentary
Violet
from off
Beauregard.
camera.
That
Listen to my
disembodied
name,
voice
Violet.
comes back in.
Violet, you're turning violet. Violet. That's a direct quote from Willy Wonka, by the way. That's the color of Violet Beauregard.
So Carmen's saying to pair with venison.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any kind of game. Even,
Yeah.
combination of the menthol that you all were talking about and the cinnamon you're talking about with venison. Hell yeah.
There's been requests for baby.
baby. Camera loves the baby.
Is the baby here?
Baby left.
Oh.
Damn it.
She was squealing, so I was like, yeah,
Oh no, they like to squeal. Next time we have to get her on for the last show.
she might be back. I don't know.
Okay.
All
There's
right.
been demands for baby. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
She now likes to scream. I don't know if you guys hear that. So
Yeah.
we're like, usher out, usher out.
No.
It was
Goodness
not a
sakes.
problem at all.
Screech is great.
We either hear baby scream or me and Jason scream. It's one or the other, so people prefer the baby.
That's true. They all do.
John Gaskin will match her pitch.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's awesome.
That herbal undertone it haunts me. I want to say somewhere between herbal and anise. Somewhere between a little leafy greeny and black licorice, although it's not that intense. It's not very forward. I'm not saying that this is the flavor I get. It's it just kind of on the whenever I taste it, after I swallow, it's just one of those things that kind of creeps back into my palate.
So someone just commented that blau, the word blau, translates to blue.
Right.
And I was like, oh, Ian did. Thank you, Ian. Wow, okay, yeah, that makes
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, good. And Terry Lynn Howard just joined us.
Terry Lynn! And Chalk, he's probably there hanging out.
Yeah.
Probably.
And sorry, no baby this week. And we haven't even talked about this, so next week will be our last happy hour with you all
Yep.
until we reopen.
Yep.
So our final day in this space will be this Sunday.
Blacksburg Wine Lab version 1.0 is officially dead in 7 days from today.
Yes.
Wow.
So
2.0 coming online soon.
yes,
Absolutely.
as soon as we possibly can. And we are given the governor. We'll see if he pushes off the phase 1, but phase 1 is supposed to start Friday, where we're allowed to open patio for 50% capacity, 6 feet apart, and our plan is to open both our front and back patio. Again, like, we're gonna do everything we can to be safe. If you don't feel like that's possible for you to come here, nope. Like, please don't. Like, I want to feel like we're like, no, we're opening and come on in. Like, if you're not there, don't feel like you need to come in. But we will, for those who feel comfortable, we will be here to serve and taking all precautions with that endeavor. But we,
I will be taking no precautions myself.
But our back patio is just so gorgeous, and to like get shut down and never get to use it again.
It's
Like
the last
Literally
hurrah.
watching it go, like I'm
3
looking
days
looking
to
it
rock
go into
out
the,
that.
yeah.
watching it go into a landfill 10 days or
It
3 weeks from now.
Sounds arrogant, but that patio out back is the best outdoor space in Blacksburg. Sorry,
You've
it
got
just
that
really is.
Absolutely.
and
We got
Kimberly's
3 more
asking-
days of use before it dies.
And you're all
so.
asking about reservations, definitely. We
give
definitely
us-
would like to take reservations, and we want to do 2-hour periods. This way, we got your spot, and if you prefer front or back, let us know. Yes, we're taking reservations, and the max we can do is 6 per governor's rules, but
6 what?
people at a table is our
Oh,
max.
6 people at a table.
No, not number of reservations, but 6 people per table maximum per the rules of the state. And yes, please call us to make a reservation. Our new space, Carmen just asked, will have a patio. No,
Nope.
there is no outdoor space at our new space, new movement. So yeah,
It'll be all right. We'll make
We're
something
hoping
work.
by the time we reopen, we're into phase 2 with inside dining. Hope for the best.
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
But about this wine.
Yeah, sorry to like go off on this tangent. but-
No, you're
What'd
smart
you-
business people.
No, what'd
I
you
just
say?
like
Did
to
they
drink
like
wine.
this lineup? I think
That's a great lineup.
I think Jeanette did a great job with the mystery bottle to kind of go with the flow of like the theme of flavors. Like if she had picked like something radical like a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, which I know you love, but that would have like kind of thrown.
No, it
it would have
definitely
actually thrown off our palates for the rest of the wines. So
No,
picking
that-
something kind of in theme was
I think
really
the Mueller was a real good choice
Yeah.
to start all of this with.
Yeah.
We've gone ad nauseum about the rosé, so I think we all know how we feel about that.
Yeah.
But this one,
Yeah.
this is just a grape that, for a lot of people, it's kind of the problem with French wine. Is you look on the shelf and you see a word and you're like, I didn't know how to pronounce it, or you look at a menu. Don't sleep on this. Anytime you see this in a restaurant,
Yeah.
Blau
It's
Frankish.
just like so lush. Just like, yeah.
I actually like that it's light bodied.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was default into educator mode, but that it's a cool climate, so they don't get a huge, long, hot growing season. So you don't get you couldn't grow a California Zinfandel in Austria. It's just too cool.
right?
And I appreciate that they've embraced their terroir. They're not trying to grow Cabernet Sauvignon. Somebody's probably doing it, but it'll be average at best, so why bother? This is their grape, and it grows quite awesome. And this is a unique spectrum of aromas and flavors. This is what I want. This is what wine drinkers want. We want to be not challenged, but try new things. I don't want to keep drinking. I love Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't want to drink it every day. I don't want to drink the same huge, big, bold, luscious Cabernet Sauvignon every day. I love those every now and again from California. But to try this Blau Frankish from Austria is like, man, this is a totally different beast in terms of red wine. And it is actually, because it's a cool climate, lighter bodied. Again, I said medium bodied at best. But with so much going on, it's hard to put down. You want to keep drinking it for different reasons.
I feel like it's a different version of Merlot. It's got a lot of the same qualities that Merlot can have, but much lighter bodied and a little bit muted flavors. I feel like it's approaching Merlot, but I enjoy it so much more.
gonna ask if everybody had a favorite. This is something wine out of these three, which I feel like we all loved all three, like maybe rosé more than. But did anybody in our chat still hanging out with us? What was your favorite? I'll go around. What you all think was your favorite?
Cassandra can go.
Sandra? Yeah.
Sure. I loved the Mueller.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
It's kind of reminiscent of the Sauv Blanc that I love. So
Yeah.
the acidity and some grassiness. So
Yeah. Okay. Mueller for you.
I like that one.
Should I go from there?
You.
Okay. Honestly, like I feel like I've had I love the Mueller and the rosé, but like I haven't revisited this wine in a long time, and the Hillinger is now my favorite of these three, just because I haven't had it in a while, so I really enjoy it.
It lingers on the palate
Yeah.
too. Like I said, these flavors just keep coming up, and,
Yeah.
which is true for the rosé and this one.
Maybe because it was cold today too, and it was like windy and gross, that like I needed a warm red wine.
No, I don't have a favorite. I love all. I don't just love all three of the wines in front of us. I love all three of these wineries, and I have yet to have a product from these wineries that I did not adore. In fact, the Anton, is it the Anton? No, the Hillinger. So this Hillinger Red that we're having, absolutely delicious. I remember
Sparkling. Woo.
they make sparkling wines that are just phenomenal, and he makes a sparkling rosé.
Yeah, their
The sparkling
was-
rosé we've done quite well
Yeah, it
with.
was one of our best sellers. We used to get
Yeah.
magnums. We get magnums on it for parties, and it was a great price. And they also was their breast cancer awareness bottle, where they donated most of the proceeds to Austrian Cancer Society.
Yeah, I think they still do. Even
Yeah.
the recent batch we got
Yeah,
in still has a
has-
pink ribbon
yeah,
on
still
it.
has
So
a ribbon.
I
So
think
that
they
is
just
their bottle.
they just donated a portion of proceeds from every bottle of that sparkling rosé, a pink sparkling rosé they sell, to cancer research. And it's like, that's one thing that you make great product, and I love you already because you make good product. You're an artist. You're
Yeah.
an artisan. You're a person that cares about what they're doing. But then you go and make it worse by being a good person and a good company that is actually trying to help the world or the community. And I'm like, shit, there is no downside to supporting this crew of humans at Hillinger. Just none. And so it really probably does not affect my palate, but it makes me like the wine more, even though it has nothing to do with the flavor or aroma.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Favorite?
I think I might be going down the same path as you. Normally, I would have probably chosen the rosé as my favorite of the day, but I haven't had the Hillinger in a very long time, and the kind of the weather today. It's just a kind of a really good spot to end the day on. And yoink. But
There's
again,
Sean.
No, all of you have said you like the Hillinger
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
I'm like, all right, I won't drink that.
I'm going to agree with the co-owners, and that all three of them are
Yeah,
very, very
I'm happy
great.
with all of these.
Yeah,
so.
there's nothing wrong with any of these. But the Hillinger for me right now is doing me fine.
Hit the spot, yeah.
Doing me fine. For yourself?
Agreed. I enjoyed all of them, but I would say I have a very hard time picking a favorite when it comes to wine in general. But for the last two, those were probably my two favorites out of these three. But they're so different.
Yeah,
so
they're,
you can't compare them. You can't pick a
Yeah.
favorite.
no,
between two of them.
picking a favorite of these three wines is just saying, what are you in the mood for right this
Exactly.
second? That's all that is.
Absolutely.
But having communication, and we all so a lot of people are Carmen Mueller, rosé for some. Like Ian said, rosé. James liked the Mueller Thurgau the best. Some people Cindy liked them all. And Carmen's looking forward to trying the sparkling rosé.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah.
Quite good. And if we did this exact tasting in the middle of winter, I assure you that everybody would have liked the Hillinger Red the most. So there's a seasonal component to it as well. Yep. I'm hoping that with the growing support of hardcore folks who are still tuning in, hanging out, listening to a bunch of yahoos talk about wine for over an hour, that in the future we have Anton here, or that we... I know everybody's all about Skyping. I'm just too old. I'm like, well, why don't you just do a Zoom meeting with Anton and your clientele? And I'm like, yeah, that's quaint. And it's also easy.
And I think we're both
It's too easy.
burnt out on some Zoom. Right
Everybody's oh my god! If you all knew how many winemaker Zooms we've been invited to in the last 2 months, it's like anything else. It's a trend. It's happening. It's a trend because of the situation, and everybody's like, "This is the future. We're gonna have winemakers Zoom with people around the world all the time." And I hate to see America, but I'm like, no, you're not. As soon as this is over, everything goes back to normal. No one thinks that Skyping with Anton Bauer online is the best way to go, or that it's even an interesting thing to do on Friday night once all this passes. So my mission is to get Anton Bauer here and get Hillinger here and say, hey, we love you and we support you, and we're in the middle of nowhere, but why don't you come out here, we'll make it worth your while.
So my issue is all these invites we've been getting is Instagram Live, which this is why we use YouTube, because you can watch it later. Instagram Live, it's gone. If you miss it and you've not tuned in, there is no saving it. That's what really bothers me. Like, you have to be there, and I'm like, dude, is something you're saying you don't want to save? Like, we talk and go off tangents, but I use YouTube, and mostly I don't use Facebook because not everybody's on Facebook. Yes, Facebook usually saves your live, but this Instagram phenomenon, that's literally almost, actually not 100% of invites we've gotten from winemakers have been Instagram. And I'm just like,
we're like, okay,
that's
nice.
You're dedicated to this app and program that doesn't save it that I want to watch later.
That's crazy.
Yeah, or even Zoom is not great at saving. It's hard to save your Zoom.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's a save for later. Which I love the interaction, but I like that we can have that. I know we're just with the chat and it's just us videoing to you. But I've heard from multiple people who are oh no, we actually watch this stream on Tuesday or Wednesday, and we don't view the chat, we just listening to you later on, and that's what I enjoy with that. But I just don't like these fleeting moments of tune in or it's gone, and you missed it. Terry Lynn, who said, I just dropped in 5 minutes ago. It's she could start this at the beginning after this is done. And what did I miss? Okay, I can watch and find out. So that's
well, part of the reason.
Yeah.
I mean, Katie's the technologically genius.
Yeah, I just
one.
think about this too much.
I'm more just the practical brain, and I can tell you why. It's because Instagram and Zoom weren't set up for a COVID crisis. So it was not their mission. So for them to be doing this is oh yeah, we're going to break into this foray, especially Instagram. Instagram was not set up for video, but they got into the game really as quickly as they could, and they don't have the storage capacity to be storing. How many Instagram users are there? 50 million?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the capacity to be storing all that video.
Posts like that.
Yeah, and girl, you know how much spaces photos take much compared to video. Come on. Come on. I'm the old dumb one here. Come on. But I don't know why next week, or if we continue doing this into the future, why don't we just have 2 cameras, and one of them's Instagram and one of them is YouTube?
It could.
Solved. See, that's what I do. Mic drop. Boom.
You are the idea.
I know. Just set up 2 damn cameras.
Let's just set up a wall, and we'll do Facebook.
It'll be
Instagram.
Very bizarre.
We'll do a
chemical.
Zoom, and we can just set up a billion cameras and computers.
It's fine.
Which
We'll
one
do
do we
it.
look at?
I know it'd be wall,
And I never thought I'd say this, but we've always had a solid 20 people who have been hanging with us and who hang with us for more than an hour. Which, as an instructor, as a person who speaks publicly, that's impressive. You don't get 20 people to listen to anything for an hour. Not in today's world.
Right.
I mean, the only reason you do it in college is because you're have a gun to your head, forced to, I gotta go to class.
You're sucking a lecture.
I have to listen to this human for an hour. So the fact that we've had, somewhere between 12 and 24 people who have continued to tune in for an hour, I never would have said this, but I think maybe we continue this even after all the crisis is over. With some of the ideas that we've talked about, with One Grape 3 Ways, or having guest people from the community come in. Maybe we make it shorter, and we're it's a half hour. I always call it the half hour power hour. It's no, we're going to do twice as much in half the time. And let's just chat about a wine or something that professionals are doing. You know what? Maybe we get 0 viewers, but you record it, you put it out there, you try to build an audience. I'm I think maybe we try to keep doing it in the news space.
Have a little bit of fun.
So the question is, so my thinking is for the last one that we're going to do with Blacksburg Wine Lab hosting the wines.
Version 1.0.
Version 1.0 will be next week, and we're debating on either Sunday. You might have to purchase the one on Sunday for close Monday. Maybe we're just open for flights. But my idea was that I like the idea of each picking a bottle that we all have to guess about. Each of us picks a blind.
Each of us picks a bottle that none of you all know about, but I
Right,
know about.
yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that means we're drinking like 5 bottles, which I'm not opposed to.
Maybe 4. There's 4 right here. I'm sorry, Jesse. I mean, if you want to pick, it's okay.
Yeah, you're all in,
I'll
Jesse.
tune in.
Yeah. But then, like, so someone asked, like, what are we continuing past this? I don't know, because we can't, but maybe we could all just do a happy hour of, like, bring your own bottle and we all just talk about it. Or maybe we change format to Zoom if we want to see each other. I mean, I remember when I first did a survey, people were like, no, we just want to watch you. We don't need to see each
I
other.
don't wanna
Like, that's
watch me.
fine, yeah. But, we're not, or maybe we all make a cocktail and just go off. I see that over there. So.
Yes.
Well, we'll be shut down at least 2 Mondays in a row, so
Yeah.
at this point
The
we're
contractors
not
are
sure.
so far behind. I'm not sure
We're a little
gonna be
worried
open for a month.
about
but
when we're going to reopen, so
that's the sad, depressing life in front of me for the next 2 to 3 weeks, is trying to get contractors to do things. Such fun.
yeah. But if you have any ideas or like how you want to see this, do you guys like the idea of we each pick maybe a favorite bottle of ours for the other 2 or 3 to guess? Does that sound good to you, or do you want to see another theme of a region or a grape or rosé? Because John loves rosé.
I love everything. What are you talking
Or maybe
about?
we don't even need to worry about guessing the wine. Maybe we just focus on why it is and the
Yeah.
passion behind that grape
Yeah.
or that brand or whatever it happens to be. And we just talk about our favorite wines. And, it's everyone always says, what's your favorite wine? There's no way to ever say, this is my favorite wine.
Yeah.
But
It's the mood.
it's the
environment,
mood,
yeah.
but I think it would be nice to just share some of our joys that we find inside of a bottle that are crushed rotten grapes.
So Elaine had the idea that if we do a cocktail hour, that you could provide the recipe, or
Yes,
either of you
of course.
could provide of like we could
I
all
mean,
make it together.
We can easily do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fun. Yeah.
Or just pick a grape. And
That's,
then everybody else.
oh, I'm starting a show called One Grape 3 Ways.
Yeah.
And so, we could just say, hey, we're going to do this. Next week we're doing Grenache. So just go to the Vintage Cellar or wherever, Kroger, and find a Grenache.
Yeah.
And I'm going to drink a few. We're going to drink a few. And then you can tell us the one you're drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
And it'll kind of be analogous to regionality.
Yep.
Maybe even one we'll do here. Maybe like 2 weeks from now, or streaming from the new space of like, here's our concrete floor, and we're still missing all the components that we need.
I'm
to
ready. I'm ready to
wires.
I'm ready to bootleg it. I'll sell wine under the table. I don't.
This
My
is
God, I
recorded,
don't
we say
care.
that. Yeah.
Our society has become such a bureaucratic joke. We're all running around so worried about
Like a
so
blue-
many rules. At some point, you're like, just relax.
Thank you.
It's not the end of the world if you don't follow every single. If you followed every single rule, you'd never leave the house anymore in today's America.
Judy wants
Loop.
A little more. I didn't finish my.
All right, but I actually have to go
Yeah, I
move
know.
furniture now, so
that's-
you guys can
that's
keep
what we
chatting.
do.
But
Perfect.
thank you all. You're awesome.
Yes, thank
Have a great
you.
evening, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the suggestions and a continued conversation. That's always great to have so much input that you all are giving the chat room. I really appreciate that.
I just like this scene. I think I'm either the
I look
I'm
like
like
a
the king.
child.
I'm like the king, or I'm Jesus at the Last
It's like
Supper.
we're like
I'm
the
like,
crown.
"Oh!"
I just feel like a little boy
How
compared
that, I did not choose to sit in the middle. If anybody thinks I have ego issues, I'm like, oh no.
We
you
put
guys-
him in the middle.
You did not put me in the middle.
did.
Damn it.
But thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah.
Acid.
Party on.
Thank
Thanks to
But,
all the
uh,
young
Thank you.
professionals. Thank you for tuning in.
YP for life.
Thanks,
Right.
Jesse. Thanks, Jess. Oh my God.
Jesus.
All right. Cheers.
Good night, everybody. All right, push the buttons. Let me know.